What's going on, guys? Today I'm doing a VOD review of Assault's first place in the Elite Cup that was on last night. The cup was run by Practice Server and it featured players from NA East, EU and NA West. So firstly, the format, if for anyone who's unaware, it's 5 points for a kill. From 50th all the way up till 4th place, you get 1 point per placement and it adds up. And then for third, you get 49 points. Second, you get 53, and then the Victory Royale gets you 60 points. So a quick overview of Assault. He is a controller player, he plays linear, and he plays on 20 ping usually. So he's not a 0 ping player taking all the walls. A quick point breakdown of the games he went through. So there were 6 games total played. Game 1, he had 2 kills with 24th place. Game 2, he had 5 kills, 3rd place. Game 3, he had 0 kills, 65th place. Game 4, he had 1 kill, 14th place. Game 5, he had 5 kills, 2nd place. And Game 6, he had 4 kills, 4th place. Out of the 6 games, he came top 4 3 times, having a 3rd, 2nd, and 4th place finish. So his placement was very impressive. So Assault's drop spot is the unremarkable shack at the very north of the map. In all 6 games, he was uncontested. The only game in which he didn't drop here was Game 3, where he dropped on a llama just south of the island. In nearly all of the games, he followed the exact same loot path, dropping onto the exact same weapon, following through inside the building, getting the 2 chests there, and then going outside. 2 of the 6 games he left Spawn Island with no refillable shields. Despite this, he still managed to make it to endgame 5 out of 6 times. So what is his playstyle? Fishing is integral to the way he plays. His drop spot is surrounded by fishing spots, and every game he had at least 4 floppers leaving there. He was also a relatively passive player, which is surprising for a controller player. If he beams another player and he has the advantage, then he will push. If not, then he typically disengages from the fight and tries to play for positioning and placement. He is very patient. In Game 6, he kills Benji Fishy, and rather than jumping down straight into the loot to grab all of the mats that he needs to continue on with his game, he waits to see if anyone else is going to go grab it or anyone's going to make an edit on it. He loves a Dorito cone. He Dorito cones inside his box and then peeks out of his own cone very frequently. He spends a large amount of his time in the 4th zone and 5th zone times, sitting in a cone just watching and gathering information. In the 5 games Assault made endgame, 2 of the 5 zones were max distance, and 3 were about half distance. That means he got 0 half in, half out zones. He usually makes this rotate early, often using minimal mats and taking minimum damage at the same time. He does this by not always taking the fastest route, but by rotating through the areas that have the most congestion so he can waste as little materials as possible. When he can't do this, he typically uses a lot of materials and is required to get an impact frag to refill. He does this effectively in Game 5 against Tfue. In the 5 games he made endgame, he only got 1 6th zone, and the other 4 games were almost always max distance. Rotating into 6th zone, he usually rotated late, using the floppers he'd fished in the early game to stay at the back of the zone. His movement is always fantastic here, again, not using too many builds to rotate into the 6th zone. His awareness while rotating through these zones is very impressive. He's always being patient and searching every angle before moving, which allows him to use less materials and take less damage. His use of the floppers and great movement allowed him to counter the poor zone RNG he got and still get great placement. So how does he die? In Game 1, he dies because he got too aggressive and jumps into a box. He fails to pop a flopper and dies to zone. In Game 2, he dies by trying to phase into the opponent's box who is 1 HP, but he gets 1-tagged. In Game 3, he dies because he rotated late into the 3rd zone and was just beamed to white HP. He ended up getting focused by 3 or 4 players and died. In Game 4, he dies because he fails to get a refresh and Wolfies come behind him with attack. In Game 5, he dies low ground with no materials to Colourful as he didn't reload his SMG. A potential win here if he had reloaded it. In Game 6, he gets too aggressive and builds up for height. He gets knocked down and dies to fall damage in zone. He still had 3 floppers and could have gotten better placement than 4th this game. So here's some of the interesting plays he made during the cup. In Game 1, he notices he's being knocked down from height and he positions himself over the water to take no fall damage. In Game 1, TI-84 pushes his island early to get Assault, but Assault gets the kill. To counter this strategy in Game 2, he builds a fake base in wood to deter him from pushing again, and it works. In Game 2, he snipes Epic Whale while rotating to 5th zone. He had 100 HP at this point, so this was a good clutch to take him to the 150 HP. In Game 2, he also uses a great stare at peak when he has no materials to try and observe what's going on around him. In conclusion, Assault plays for endgame each game, not hard WKing like other controller players do. If he gets a beam off and hits someone down for white, he may push in the mid game and take that fight. This only happened twice in all of the 6 games. He had no problem disengaging from a fight and will often not push players he has hit for a lot of damage just because he wants to keep moving to a better position. Floppers are a huge part of this strategy as he had 4 or more in all of his games. He typically rotated from 4th to 5th zone early and then from 5th to 6th late using his floppers. His awareness and movement is fantastic, allowing him to rarely take damage or use too many materials. I would highly recommend watching Assault if you're a player who needs to work on your mid-ground endgame.